I call to order this meeting of the Washington County Board of Education. Call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We have 5 members present this evening. We have 2 members, Mr. Ridenauer, who is away on a scheduled vacation, and Mr. Bickford, who is out of state attending a family wedding. They are not here this evening, obviously, but we do have a quorum. At this time, Board Member Linda Murray will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we'll have approval of this evening's agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any discussion regarding the agenda for this evening? All those in favor of tonight's agenda? Okay, we have 5 affirmative votes. Student member concurs. Motion carries. We'll move on to the minutes.
President Williams, I make a motion to approve the closed session minutes dated Tuesday, June 4th, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any additions or corrections to the closed session minutes of June 4th? Okay, then we'll move to approval of the closed session minutes for June 4th. All those in favor? Okay, we're unanimous, 5 affirmative votes. Motion carries.
I also move to approve the business meeting minutes dated Tuesday, June 4th, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Besford. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Any additions or corrections to the business meeting minutes of June 4th? Okay, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor of approval of the business meeting minutes of June 4th? Okay, we have 5 affirmative votes. Student member concurs. Those minutes stand approved. Okay, at this time, on our agenda, we have public comment. We have 2 individuals who have signed up in advance. I'd like to read from Board Policy KD regarding procedures at business meetings. Each person wishing to address the Board of Education is encouraged but not required to sign up prior to the meeting and may address any topic concerning Washington County Public Schools, except personnel or student matters which clearly identify an individual or individuals. Each speaker may speak for up to 5 minutes. At this time, I'd like to call forward Anne Marie Hines, who is the first person who has signed up. Ms. Hines.
Good evening. My name is Anne Marie Hines, and I'm the president of the Washington County ESP Association. I am also a proud clerical employee who serves the students and staff at Fountain Rock Elementary School. WCESP represents over 450 clerical, paraprofessional, LPN, maintenance, custodial, technology, transportation, and food service employees in Washington County. At this point in time, we're at a difficult crossroads. A Maryland Public School Labor Relations Board decision has divided the board and its employees. WCESP was forced to request a ruling from the PLSRB over the topic of negotiating hours worked. We would not be where we are today were it not for WCPS cutting the hours, days, and months of our members. These cuts not only hurt the livelihood of our support staff, they also mean a decline in the services offered to students. We strongly believe the decision issued by the PSLRB ignores basic principles of statutory interpretation, and we are working every possible avenue to appeal and overturn that decision. But even as that process plays out, there is action that can be taken locally to show that WCPS values and respects support staff, and that is a key reason why I'm here today. In its brief submitted to the PSLRB, WCPS asserted that maximizing the time our educators work for and with students would be, quote, a waste of money, end quote. Obviously, this is untrue, and it is deeply offensive to the very hardworking ESPs throughout WCPS. Yesterday, WCTA and WCESP jointly delivered to each of you a resolution that specifically declares your support for the rights of educators to advocate for our working conditions, which are the learning conditions of students. We ask you to pass that resolution immediately. Do you support the rolling back of the rights of every educator in our county and the state of Maryland, or do you support our ability to engage in negotiations which have for decades resulted in agreements between parties that facilitate labor peace and an excellent academic environment for our students? The employees of Washington County need to know where you stand. Our community depends on you to be leaders and to make sure that students and educators have the support they deserve. The time for your leadership is now. There are 50 other people in a different room, and as you can see, this room is packed. Educators in Washington County, and apparently the entire state, are watching. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hines. Our next speaker is Mr. Jeff Farr. Is he here? Mr. Farr?
Back here. Told you I'd be back. Before becoming a teacher, one of my jobs was as the human resource officer in my company. While a teacher, I helped negotiate contracts on the other side of the table than where you sit. One of the highlights of that experience, quite honestly, was when you, Dr. Michael, tried to get us together and work collaboratively at a time when we were at impasse. It gave me hope because we were actually talking with each other instead of at or about each other. I would simply point out that tonight, what brings all these people out is the reason employees feel they need a union. When I was in HR, my job was to keep a union out of the company. I was very successful at that, but I understand why people feel they need one. In a conversation with the previous HR director for Washington County Public Schools, I said, who's your clientele? Who do you represent? And I was told, the board. I said, what about the employees? I don't represent them. She does. The union does. And I, as a former human resources officer, I would simply ask you to remember that the resources in this room are human and that it is simply a matter of courtesy and respect and collaboration and all those values that we are expected to teach our students that is at risk. If people cannot talk about the hours they work, the conditions under which they work, or by the very definition of their jobs, then what are we to do in collective bargaining? How many black markers we get to use in the space of a year? Whether we use Dixie cups or generic ones for the water fountains? Please, tonight. Can we not all, regardless of which side of the table we're on, simply extend a hand and truly be partners in not only the education of our students, but the celebration of those people that do it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farr. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak during public comment? Yes. Good evening.
Hi.
Could we have your name, please, and your address?
My name is Mark Keys, and I graduated from North Higginson High School.
Good evening, Mark.
Hi. I'd like to say something. Having a professor helped me each and every day at school. When I didn't understand, she took the time needed to help me learn. Without her, I may not be where I am today. Graduating with a high school degree, please don't cut hours of the people who provide direct support to kids with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment? Yes. Good evening. Could we have your name, please, and your address?
My name is Madeline Bailey, and I go to Sharpsburg High School.
Okay.
I think I speak on behalf of everybody here when I think that they are angry, because you say that cutting their hours and their pay is a waste of time and a waste of money. I'd just like to say something. When I go to school every morning, the first thing I see are my secretaries and my janitors. And they give me a smile every single morning, and I don't see that from all of my teachers. And I'm being completely honest when I say that when I have a lot on my plate, I don't think of the teachers to talk to. I think of my janitors, think of my secretaries, I think of the paraprofessionals who work extremely hard, all of them do. And not that I don't have respect for teachers, because I do. They're highly respected in my opinion, but you guys should have the well-being and the best interests of the students in your mind. And I speak on behalf of them and on the students when I say that these paraprofessionals, these janitors, these secretaries whose hours you want to cut is wrong. Because they impact not only their coworkers, but they impact their students and they impact me. They impact our mental stability, they impact our education, and they just impact our everyday lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Yes, sir.
My name is Dennis Brown, and long resident of Washington County. My wife teaches in the school system, and my kids are a product of the school system. There seems to be back and forth. The answer is somewhere in the middle, and I challenge every single person in this room to find that answer. If you're talking about cutting hours and cutting salaries, then you're damaging the students. Your job as the board is to take care of the teachers and the paraprofessionals and the staff that work for them. Their job is to take care of the students, and they will. Happy employees always work harder, always work better. I'm a supervisor at my job, and my job is not to take care, I'm a paramedic here in town. My job is not to take care of the patients. My job is to take care of my paramedics to make sure that they have everything to do their job. Your job is to take care of these guys back here. Give them what they need to do their job. And that means paraprofessionals, that means janitorial staff, that means secretaries. Help the teachers teach, because that's what they were trained to do. That's what they're here for. And I'm going to regurgitate something I said to the Board of County Commissioners. There's not a person in this room that doesn't owe where they are today to a teacher, and through those teachers, a paraprofessional or janitorial staff or a secretary. Do the right thing, guys. Find the answer in the middle.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please. Could we have your name and address, please?
Yes, my name's Abby Gray. I live at 721 Sunset Avenue. I'm a longtime Washington County resident. I would like to pretty much say that I've been out here for about a decade now, so I've seen many ups and downs with education and changes. And I've got kind of a special perspective. My little boy has autism, and I will never forget putting him on that giant school bus, and that bus person looking at me and saying, "We have him, don't you worry." And like a worried mom, I said, "I'll be right behind the bus. Whatever happens, I'll be right there. If you have to stop, I'll be there." I got to the school. I parked in a careful place and got out and went into the school nervously. Didn't want my boy to see me. I didn't want to ruin his first experience at the school system. I got out of that area and just kind of quietly peeked around the corner. You guys didn't have pre-K setups everywhere, so it was at Funkstown. And Miss Nancy, who's retiring in July, I don't know how many of you know Miss Nancy. She came out, and she comforted me instantly and said, "Gosh sakes, I know this is a new experience, and it's not new to most mothers." I said, "You know, we see this a lot, and you certainly, it's okay." I said, "Oh, but my child is different. My child can't speak for himself if something happens and something goes wrong." And she said, "Oh, there's something amazing here. They're paraprofessionals. They're going to back your child and make sure that he has a voice. And they're going to take time with him independently, hand in hand, and make sure your boy doesn't lack for a voice, and it's going to be okay." And I know you're not going to accept that because, you know, most moms don't at first, but you watch, and it's going to be okay. Well, I don't accept anything. She's right. And here I am in 3rd grade after a transfer to Lincolnshire Elementary, where my heart has been moved and grown in so many ways when I thought, well, they're just being dishonest with me. I don't know if I can trust. And these paraprofessionals who need that extra time, there's no doubt, they need the extra time with these students because they are growing minds in a different, new way. And autism and other special disabilities, these disabilities aren't healing and going away. They're growing in number. I have many friends in the community in this grouping. And unfortunately, a lot of them are saying, "Gosh, we need to move out of Washington County, or we need to homeschool." I want you to think about the gravity of that. That means if everyone decided to pick up and do that today, you'd be out of a job in Washington County. I am asking you from a different perspective to really soak in, from the secretary to the janitor to the most amazing paraprofessionals I've ever seen. They put in with not just the ability and knowledge they've learned, but with heart. They weigh everything they do with good measure. And my son, he is coming along amazingly in ways that I would have never dreamed he would have been able to today. He is a product of Washington County Public Schools. And I am proud, very proud to say, everyone, each and every member of your staff that he meets puts into him from the bus on, even to this day, to the last person that he sees at school. And this has been from pre-K. This is now going into third grade. And I just can't imagine a lack of time, because I feel that lack of time is going to have a deep rut in many kids' lives where the growth just won't be as incredible as it could have been. And I think that people moving out of Washington County and homeschooling because they see no other possibility, when these numbers are growing in our community, they're not going away, is a huge mistake to challenge bargaining rights. We need to support these people more than ever and find new ways. As a parent, I feel I was just pacified in hearing that there was a wonderful grant that was going to support our children. And I thought, oh, that's great. And in the next breath, let's challenge bargaining rights. Now, my first thought is pay the help. They are incredible. And really, I don't think anything more that I could ever say or leave on would be more important. Pay the help. They are incredible, and they're not even just the help. Every person is Washington County, and they are representing you grandly. And I ask that you support them. Just find a way to support them the best you can. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir. Good evening.
Okay, good. My name's Mike. I'm not going to give my last name. So, the reason we're here is because of our support staff. My grandfather was a farmer, and then he became a custodian at Shepherd College because he loved kids. His daughter, my mom, was a paraprofessional. My sister's a paraprofessional. My wife's a paraprofessional. I'm not involved in the educational system at all. But I want to draw a comparison between them and something that I do know. I'm a former Marine. So, hoorah, that's right. Semper Fi, thank you. So what I do know about is combat and war. And my coalition is this. These paraprofessionals, these janitors, these secretaries, these technicians, all the way down the line, they're your support staff, right? We all agree on that? Well, in the service, let's say you're infantry. Can you go to war without supply? They're support staff. They're not a waste. Can you go to war without air support? They're not a waste, but they're support. Can you go to war without motor T, motor transport, the people who gets them there? They're support. I dare somebody to call those people wastes. I already know what would happen, and it wouldn't be pretty. So how is anyone going to call these fine people a waste? That, in my opinion, is unacceptable. Y'all need to step up as elected officials and back the people that you serve. That's all I have. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward to speak? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening.
Could we have your name, please?
My name is Kate Thomas. I'm a fifth grade teacher in Washington County.
Thank you.
Before I became a full-time teacher, I was a paraprofessional for 2.5 years. And when I saw the word waste applied to that job, that floored me. One of my paraprofessionals who worked with me in my first year of teaching is here tonight. And I would not have made it through my first year of teaching if she had not been with me. There is no resource more valuable that you can put into a school where I work than a caring, compassionate adult. There's no piece of technology, there's no subscription service, there's nothing that matches the power of what these people bring to a school. And so I'm asking you to support them and support me by supporting them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Lyons. I am a school bus driver. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, how this is all going to affect the bus drivers. But what I would like to say, bus drivers are the first person these kids come in contact with. And we're the last person, okay? I have had students get on my bus, and you can just tell by their appearance they've had such a rough evening. I've heard stories that have made me cry. Transportation plays a large role in this also. We are important. We're not a waste. We have a very important job. Our job is the only one that requires 100% accuracy. Thank you, Facebook. But it's true. We have to give 100% of our attention, not only to the students on our bus, to the parents that address us, to the administration, to the traffic. It's a very important job. I just want you all to keep in mind that we too make an impact on these children. We listen. We're not just a bus driver. We're a counselor. We're mom. We're doctor. You name it. These kids mean a lot to us, or we wouldn't do what we do. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward? Yes. I see a hand. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
I'm really, really nervous about speaking in front of people, but I'm going to do it. I'm not a parent of a student here. I'm not a teacher, a parapro. I don't know anybody close to me who works for the district. But I'm a resident of Washington County, and in all the years I've taught in Georgia, New York, Colorado, I know the value of support staff. And in my 74 years of living on this earth, I have learned what respect is, and you are not respecting our support staff and your employees. That's all.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Good evening. Could we have your name, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Harold Ridenhour. I grew up in this area. I have many friends on here, family. There's a lot of bridges that need to be crossed, I understand. I was once an employee as a custodian at Rockland Woods Elementary School, and for a brief period at Boonesboro Middle School. I very much enjoyed my time working there with the children. I've also, in my history, been an athletic coach to junior league children for 12 years. I coached junior league wrestling. So when I needed to start a career, I had an opportunity to come to work for the school board. Again, made wonderful friends, lasting relationships, and I find it extremely offensive to find out that the job that I did and took so much care of to be dismissed. When I was told when we were practicing for our drills that in the first line of defense to the children, that was part of my job. So if there was an active shooter come into the school, part of my job was to defend the children. But yet, I'm a waste. When there is an outbreak of sickness that comes into our school, no one else but the custodians are the ones that's doing all the extra cleaning, all the extra sanitizing. So if you cut their time, they're not going to have time to do it. If you cut their pay, they're going to shortcut it. Unhappy employees, like you'd already heard, is not going to do a good job. It is upsetting at the least to know that my daughter-in-law, who's one of the most compassionate people that I know about children, or anyone in all honesty, that someone would call her job a waste. That girl moved mountains to get her degree so that she could come and be a parapro. And now that she's achieved this and is active and has tons of accolades from her principals, now it's viewed that she's a waste. They talk about an anti-bullying law in Washington County. I'm not sure, but I think we're borderline on that bullying law with that comment that these people are a waste. I'm not really here because I gain or lose anything from this, other than the fact that you are elected officials. We've put you in office to look out for the best of both sides of us, the students and the employees. And these people are asking you, look out for them. Thank you.
Good evening.
My name is Corey Forsyth. I'm a teacher at North Hagerstown High School, special education life skills classroom. I actually started in Washington County Public Schools as a substitute teacher. Then I became a paraprofessional in the life skills program at North Hagerstown High School. Sorry. And that's where I really found a love and a passion for the students I get to work with every day. I went back to school to become a teacher. And through that experience, I've learned that the support staff that make up our awesome community here at Washington County Public Schools, they are what make things run. They're what make me be able to do my job currently as a teacher. You know, I work with the bus drivers every day to make sure my students can get out to job sites and work sites and gain vocational skills that they're going to need to be successful in the future. I work with my secretaries pretty much, you know, when I'm worried about students, sometimes it's hard to get that attendance in. And I know they have my back to make sure that, you know, we get things done correctly and we make sure all the students are there. You know, our custodial staff goes above and beyond to make sure that when I can't find something for one of my students that maybe needs an extra special need, something that they can do, they go above and beyond to make sure that they're there to talk to my students, to be there to get to teach them on the daily. Our lunch staff, again, above and beyond all the needs that my students might need. I know that I can trust them to take care of my students when I can't be there 100% of the time because I don't have that time. And so my job daily as a teacher is to be able to trust people and be able to give them, my students, and say, do your job and do it as best you can. And I know I can trust them to do that every day. And I'm about to go and teach ESY this summer at Marshall Street. And I can tell you that ESY and no matter where it is, it doesn't happen without the support staff. It just doesn't. And I've got to see that firsthand. So One, I just want to say I love teaching here in Washington County Public Schools. I love the students, I love the staff, and I think most of all, we just want to show that we all care, we all support them, and you know, I hope as well that you see that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone? Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
My name is Pam Sines. I'm a school bus driver, and I've been here in Washington County for over 20 years, and I had a daughter that went through the school system as well. And all the people that have been up here to talk tonight, everything has been true. The only thing I have not heard is we have a shortage of bus drivers already. We have a shortage of food service people already. If we have our board not supporting us, and then we have trying to get new people to come in and they find out that we aren't supported and we're a waste of time, how are we supposed to get and promote more people to come in and fill these positions that we need? We need more drivers. We need more food service people. We need to fill these positions to take care of our kids. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Marcy Flaherty. I wasn't going to speak at all today, but I have a really unique perspective within the county. I am the support staff that supports our support staff when the behaviors turn to crisis mode. I work with the aggressive kids through our county by choice and have done so for 15 years. I can't tell you how many of these people give up their lunches, their breaks, their planning time on a regular basis. I'm part of that. There is no time to cut. And my concern that I hope you consider is that in cutting time, that nobody gets hurt. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, my name is Jody Gerhardt, and I am a teacher at Pangbourne Elementary. Sorry if I get emotional. This has been a really rough year for me this year, and I'm going to tell you right now, I would not have gotten through it if it had not been for the paras that supported me in my classroom this year. There's absolutely no way I would have made it this year, and you can obviously see that it was a rough year for me. I had 6 students with disabilities in my classroom. And every time my paras came in, I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. I need your help so bad because my students needed their help. I was one in a classroom of many needs. And those kids loved their paras. And I could not have done my job if it had not been for them. The support staff in our schools, the custodians, the food service, the secretaries, those are the foundation of your buildings. Every building in Washington County. And if you mess with your foundation, your building is going to crumble. You need to support your support staff.
Good evening.
My name is David Kaplan. I'm a retired Lutheran pastor in Hagerstown area. My daughter is Down syndrome. She had a wonderful teacher at North High, Diane Telemko, who was supported by some wonderful paraprofessionals, for which I am very, very grateful. But I'm here to say that negotiating a whole process is very long and difficult. The easy thing is name calling, and apparently, from what I'm gathering, that has been that's been the perspective so far. I would invite you to take the more difficult road, to open yourselves up, to negotiating with these people here because they are so valuable and so needed. And truly listen to the concerns that they have. Do the difficult thing. Don't simply dismiss their claims as being wasteful or as unnecessary. Be open to them. That's it.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Carol Swaggart, and I'm with Transportation. I know some of you, Mr. Thalper. My son went through Washington County Schools and was lucky enough to have you as one of his teachers. I guess you call it luck. Anyhow, the word waste. I've been a part of Washington County my whole entire life. My dad worked for Washington County his whole entire life. I'm not good at public speaking, so this is probably not going to go real well, but I'm a school bus driver for special needs. I've been doing this for 22 years. I look at the kids in the morning, I smile, good morning. Hope you have a nice day when you get off the bus. When they come back on in the evening, if they've had a bad day, we talk to them. I have an aide because they're special needs students, which I consider somewhat like a parapro. We earn what we do. And as Cindy said, when we get on the bus in the morning, we have to have 100% on that road. I travel up and down the interstate to Hancock every day. You can imagine. 70, not a nice place to be, especially when you have a bus full of children who cannot speak. So you have to be their voice. You have to be their caretaker. You have to make sure they get to where they're going safely at all times. We're not a waste. And I don't know which one of you or if all of you said it, but that's very disrespectful, and it is bullying. Now, my opinion is you guys' minds are already made up. So we can talk till we're blue in the face. We cannot talk at all. But you still need to hear us. And we need to be heard, and we need to be given the same respect that we give to you each and every day. If a teacher disciplines a child, we have to make sure that they're disciplined on the bus the same way. We can't tell them what the teacher told them not to do, they can do, and vice versa. If they're not allowed to eat candy in school, they're not allowed to eat candy on the bus. Our instruction is just as important as the teachers, the parapros, the janitors, the maintenance people, the garage people. And without us, where would the children be? How would they get to school? Why would we need the teachers, the parapro, the maintenance, the board members? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Vicki Hanshoe. I'm a parapro at Lincolnshire, and I'm in the pre-K classroom. And I appreciate Dr. Michael talking to us the other day and telling us how much he appreciates us as pre-K paras and kindergarten paras. This year, just like one of the teachers said it from Pangbourne, was probably my hardest year in the school system. I've been in school for 20 years. 11 of that was school health. So I saw the children at a different look. They would come to me when they needed a break or needed medication, and I took care of them. I loved them then, and I went on to be a substitute and then a para. I worked with a teacher this year who is absolutely amazing. She changed her curriculum, not her curriculum, but she changed her way of teaching. I can tell you probably 5 times. Pre-K is not just the little ones coming in and having a grand old time. We have to manage our classroom a lot of the time so that our teacher can instruct them or teach them. And I am her partner. She tells me that every day. She tells me how much she appreciates me and shows me. And I almost wanted to give up on our children. And I stuck it out, and I loved those children. I knew that they came from places that I have never even thought of in their life, in their short 4 years of life. And I didn't grow up in a very good life, home life either, but theirs probably is 100 times worse than mine ever was. So I just think for you to want to cut my hours after all that I put in, and I go the extra mile. I am one of those, and I know, Dr. Michael, you said that we don't want you to stop. We don't want you to not take your breaks. We don't want you to work that half hour over. And I know, too, that the people coming in at 6.5 was their choice, but my choice was not 6.5. And I just think to even cut that by just a half an hour a day would be detrimental. To me, my mental state, and our children who come in with so many mental issues. It's sad. And I want to nurture them and give them everything I have. And I want to be appreciated, bottom line, appreciated. And so does every one of the paras and support staff. And our custodian is there. He helps us with these children. So we need every one of us and no hours cut. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Tony Petronic. I'm a teacher at Pangbourne. I've been here for 32 years. I graduated in '74, and I have never been so outraged by that comment that people keep making. And the last speaker made a very important thing. At our professional development, Mr. Michaels, you said how important it is for our cooperation and collaboration. Everybody in the school system has to work together. And when you're starting to cut hours, those people that work directly with those students cannot be collaborative workers. Our paraprofessionals stay way beyond their work hours. They come in way beyond their work hours, and they are not compensated monetarily for it. They get a freebie time off. They can leave early. They never leave early. I don't think this is what I think, before you make any decisions, you need to come out, you need to ride a bus. You need to work in the classroom, not just go through the school on a willy-nilly tour, but to actually sit in the classroom and see what we are up against daily. Our custodians are fantastic. They work with the kids. They don't just clean the school. They are actually interactive with our kids. Our secretaries, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't run. I think you really need to step back before you do any kind of negotiating and think, do I really know what these people do? Because I don't think the majority of you do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Good evening.
very good at this. I've taught since 1999, and I started in Baltimore City, but I wanted to come back home because I love Washington County, and I love children, and that's why I got into being a teacher. But I'm going to be honest, I cannot do it by myself. I can't. There are no hours to cut. These people are here before school, after school. These people are in my room all day for helping me. I can't grade the papers alone. I can't work with the kids that are on level, below level, and above level all at the same time. I have to have the help. What the speaker said before me, she made a really good point. I don't know if you know that at the end of the school year, there are no substitutes at our school. And that our paraprofessionals sometimes have to push in and teach classes. They have to do so much that they're not expected to do on a regular contract. And they do it, and they don't complain. And they give love to the children of Washington County that are going to be in the workforce and are going to be voters. We're the family, we're the extended family that raises the children of Washington County. A lot of our kids, I've taught Title I for all 19 years. And it's a special place for special people. And that's, yeah, you can laugh because you all know, you all get it. But without the bus drivers who take my kids who have had a bad day home and watch them so that they're not scratching other students, we're not there, then my kids would be written up. If I didn't have the behavioral support for when I have little girls talking back to me and cussing at me and shoving books on the floor and challenging me, if I didn't have behavioral support to come in and help me, I don't know where I'd be. You know, we live in violent times. We're expected to take care of these kids in a way that a lot of us didn't prepare for. Lockdowns, guns, knives. It's really hard to shake it off at the end of the day, go home to your family. My 8-year-old little girl, who's also a student in Washington County, and just come back positive. But I'll tell you, I do. And it's because of the people that I work with. Because I know that they have my back. When I have years that are hard teaching, my dad dying, trouble at home, financial troubles, it's these people who help your schools move forward and who help keep pushing the children forward. There are no hours to cut. We need more people. You want to help the kids of Washington County, put 2 eyes in each classroom, 2 sets of eyes. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Either one.
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Jessica Burton. I've been teaching for about 16 years. Parish, you're making me cry. I taught 13 years, 14 years, so I taught 17 years, really. I know how to do math. I taught 14 years in Montgomery County. Thank you. I took a big, huge pay cut to come here because I know what an amazing county this is for their children in schools. And I did it for my children. So I'm a resident. I'm a parent of a student in Washington County, and I'm also a teacher at Salem Avenue. And I can tell you this, I would not be able to do my job effectively, successfully, without my secretaries, without my custodians, without my parapros, day in and day out. I'm a little tired because I came from one of my first PDs of many in the summer that are required, and came here to support the people that have my back on a daily basis. Not only do they have my back, they have the students' back. If you cut their time, you're cutting the students' time. You're cutting the numbers of success, the numbers that we strive to reach each year through our tests. So I ask you to please, please extend a hand and make it work. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
My name is Rainey Ann Coulter. I teach 3rd through 5th grade life skills at Pangborn, and I am far from a public speaker. But sitting here listening to people, I don't think you guys have any idea what half an hour is like in a classroom. My students, or when the last time you've been in one for half an hour, because my students have grown leaps and bounds in independence this year, to the point where I have some who can unzip their jackets and things all on their own. And that is huge for a 4th grader. I have students who are delivering coffee to teachers in the mornings. I have 11 students, myself, and 2 paras this fall. And I'm spending my summer thinking of ways to keep things in like the coffee cart that they so desperately love. But if I can't have a para come in until half an hour after the school day has started, I don't have hands to do it. So I'm taking away things from them. It's not just a half an hour. It is that student's time, their education, and what they're worth. We have amazing custodians who have helped me walk my students to the bus at the end of the day because that extra half an hour meant I had to send a para home. You're not just taking a half an hour here to save yourself some money. You're taking away a child's education, their opportunity, and everything good we have going on. Oh, and I do need to say that I personally apologized to the paras in my classroom when I saw that statement was made, because they didn't deserve that.
Thank you. Yes. Good evening.
Hello, my name's John Brooks. I'm a parapro at Salem Avenue. Recognize some of you up there, and student, right? What a great opportunity to learn and see how people work out issues, right? Yeah, okay. Thanks, Salem. Love you, Marcy. Great trainer. I speak to you as a para, as a father of 4, 2 that have already gone through Washington County Public Schools. My first son was Isaiah Brooks. He went to North High. He was a state wrestling champion. You guys recognized him here, and thank you very much. My second son was Aaron Brooks, or is Aaron Brooks. He was a 4-time state champion, and he's a world champion, currently on his 3rd world team. And he leaves for Penn State on Friday. I'd say Washington County did a very good job with him. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have a 5-year-old at Salem, which comes to school with me. I have a 7-year-old who's in the 1st grade. He's now in the magnet program. He'll be there next year. He's done exceptional at Salem. Great public school teaching, paras. Okay, so as a parent, I'm very pleased with the product that we've had here in Washington County. Again, thank you. Behind me are people that I love very dearly, not just the people in my school, but just Washington County employees. I go all over the place in Washington County. I run into people that have supported my son. How you doing? How you doing? How's your kids? How's this? That's love. They love doing what they do. You know, we're all on one team. This is one team. So to me, as a wrestling coach, sitting in the back, I feel like it's us against you or something. It's not supposed to be that way. You serve us. You should be helping us. You're on our team. We're same team. We serve the public. So we shouldn't be having this problem. People shouldn't be saying that we're useless or wasteful. I mean, really, don't you think that's a bit rude? I don't know who said or anything, but isn't that a bit rude? Yes? I think you agree. Yeah. So we need to work this out. We need to get along. I'm proud to be a public servant. I'm proud to be, yellow card, that's soccer. I'm watching the World Cup. I'm proud to be a member of this group, okay? And I'd like to be proud of what you do, okay? You have a job. You're no different than us, not to me anyway. You have a job to do. I hope you do your job. I do my job. I love it. I smile every day, and I'm proud. And I hope you're proud too. You will not be proud if you don't do the right thing. I know that, or you wouldn't be sitting where you're at. We elected you, so obviously you care. Do your job, okay? Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else? No one else? Thank you to all those who came forward to offer remarks this evening. On behalf of this board, I would like to say that Washington County Public Schools employs approximately 1,225 ESP staff members, which includes paraprofessionals, bus drivers, clerical assistants, school technology technicians, custodians, and food service employees. The Washington County Board of Education would like to thank these employees for the work they do to positively impact our students and our school communities on a regular basis. This board acknowledges educational support personnel play an important role in ensuring students have a safe and supportive learning environment. We have been fortunate to be able to provide yearly salary enhancements. Through strategic budgeting for this upcoming school year, more than 65 ESP positions have been added to meet the needs of children and to support teachers in classrooms. Tonight, we are pleased to share that through a collaborative effort, we have signed a memorandum of understanding with Washington County Educational Support Personnel for an increase to the salary scale of 2.75%, effective July 1st. In addition to this salary increase, employees have the potential to earn additional pay through an enhanced attendance incentive. The Washington County Board of Education respects the right of WCESP to advocate for their employee membership's position. The board also respects the choice of the association to seek a decision at the judicial level. In the interest of maintaining a fair and impartial process, the board will not comment further on a pending legal matter. Thank you for coming this evening, and you're certainly welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting. At this time, we'll move on to old business. Okay, this evening we have no old business. Well, Mike's telling me to go on, you're telling me to wait. Brian Hinch wants to get on, get out of here.
Take the lid off before I can drink
thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So moving on to new business. Our first item of consideration under new business this evening is a contract agreement between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Association of Supervisors and Administrators for the 2019-2020 school year. Good evening, Mr. Hinge.
Mrs. Williams, excuse me. Earlier this year, we agreed with the administrator and supervisory group for a salary enhancement of 2.75%. Part of that discussion and negotiation was if the teachers were to receive more money, that consideration be given to A&S in order to keep the salary scales close. Excuse me. That consideration be given to matching the teacher salary. With the teacher salary incentive from the Maryland Blueprint, it's not possible that we're able to match the salary of teachers in any way. But from the general fund, we were able to match 3% for teachers, and this time we'd like to match 3% for administrators. That still is narrowing the gap between administrators and teachers, but we think that would be appropriate, and we're requesting your approval at this time. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
President Williams, I move to approve the contract agreement between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Association of Supervisors and Administrators for the 2019-2020 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gesford. Any discussion? All those in favor of Mrs. Murray's motion? We have 5 affirmative votes. Student member concurs. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for entertaining our unit's compensation package, and we hope to continue to move on collaboratively in the future.
Thank you.
We're pleased to be able to reward the members of the association. Thank you. That's because of the clicking he does. Error, user error. Appreciate all you do.
Very much.
Thank you. Oh, we keep this one. Okay. Moving on to our second item for consideration, first reading of proposed changes to policy JICJ, use of personally owned electronic devices. Good evening, Mr. Trotta.
The Policy Committee has conducted a comprehensive review of policy JICJ. Policy Committee is recommending the following items, changes to this policy. First, that a background clause be included in the policy that recognizes that students have been provided with tablets by the school system, and consequently, students no longer need their personally owned devices for instructional purposes. The second recommendation is that the definition of the term personally owned electronic devices should be updated to include smartwatches, earbuds, and headphones. The third recommendation is that the definition section of the policy should include a definition for the terms school day and instructional time. One of the most significant recommendations that appears in the proposed policy, and it's being recommended this evening, is that a student's use of a personally owned electronic device during instructional time will be prohibited under the proposed changes that are being offered this evening. The policy would allow students to use their devices in certain situations. The first is in an emergency situation. The sponsoring adult could grant permission to use a personally owned device. The second is outside of instructional time. A supervising adult could authorize a student to use the device in those circumstances. And the third is on the school bus. The students would be permitted to use their devices on the bus, provided it does not disrupt bus operations. The policy has also been updated with regard to the obligations of the school system with regard to technology support. And the policy also states that due to confidentiality, privacy, and legal concerns, a student may not use his or her device to take photographs or record audio or video, and they cannot do so in a school setting, during the school day, or on a school bus. I'm glad to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Trotta. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy JICJ, which is entitled Use of Personally Owned Electronic Devices.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Staffer. Any discussion or any questions? Then we'll move on to the vote. The vote is on approving the first reading of proposed changes to policy JICJ entitled Use of Personally Owned Electronic Devices. All those in favor? All right, we have 5 affirmative votes. Student member concurs. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trotta. Okay, moving on, we have a donation. Good evening, Dr. Akers.
Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, and Dr. Michael. I'm here on behalf of North Hagerstown High School to request your approval of a generous donation of $5,384.62 from Ahold Delhaize A-plus Rewards, also known as Martin's A-plus Rewards. If approved, the money will go to the school's general athletic fund.
Thank you, Dr. Akers. Is there a motion?
Move to accept.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion is to approve a donation of $5,384.62 from Ahold Delhaize USA A-plus Rewards to North Hagerstown High School. All those in favor? All right, we have 5 affirmative votes, and the student member concurs. Motion carries. Thank you. And you have another for us.
Also, on behalf of North Hagerstown High School, I'm requesting your approval of a generous donation of $7,155 from the Hubs Booster Club. The funds will be used toward the replacement of the fencing at the softball field.
Thank you, Dr. Akers. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve a donation of $7,155 from the Hubs Boosters Club to North Hagerstown High School to be applied towards the replacement fencing in the school's softball field.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gessert. Any questions or any discussion? All those in favor of approval of this donation? We have 5 affirmative votes. The student member concurs. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Akers.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, President Williams. Tonight, we have a couple updates. So we've had so many opportunities to recognize our students over the last couple months. We really haven't had a chance to keep up with some of their educational updates. So one of our updates tonight will be about our career and technology education programs. Dr. Pugh and Cody Pine will be sharing some of that information, so invite them to the table. Just very excited about the progress we've made so far in career and technology over the last couple of years. Dr. Pugh and Mr. Pine and staff have worked extremely hard to enhance programs, to add value added to our programs, to create new programs and new things on the horizon, and we're just very excited about that. And I've just asked them to share for a few minutes tonight, and then we'll probably have them back in the future to keep the board updated on things as they progress. So, Dr. Pugh?
Thank you, and good evening. We appreciate the opportunity to share with you some of the highlights and some of the great things that have happened this year through your support of CTE, Career and Technology Education. The value added actually starts with the end in mind. We try to think of each student and where they're going to finish and what value they get from our programs when they leave us. So it's about Are they going to college? Are they going to a trade? Are they going to earn a certification? So each of our programs is designed backwards to make sure that students can take that next step and feel prepared. This year, CTE won the Maryland State Department Award of Excellence for Outstanding CTE Marketing Campaign. We have some of our staff members to thank for that because they shared all kinds of pictures and information for Wendy Moore to put together in a s'more that went out in a communication regularly. The CTE program under Mr. Pine's direction was also awarded the Innovation Grant for the Artificial Intelligence Cloud Computing so that we can build an offline, standalone, protected network for students to learn and implement cybersecurity protections at a very high level. The Vex Robotics competition that some of you attended and many of you heard about, sponsored by Volvo, was held at South Hagerstown High School, and this year we had 17 teams, both middle school and high school, competing. We had the picture in the center there is the inaugural Career Day signing. We felt that it was important to recognize students that are going directly into the world of work and being supported by our local businesses. So we had our students who are athletes typically sign with their college of choice. We had our students who are going directly into the world of work sign with their businesses. We've also worked with our local career clusters, the area businesses, to see what it is that they need in the incoming workforce so that we can build in scholarships, we can build in the appropriate curriculum and training, the appropriate equipment to work on to be able to be prepared in that area. We're really happy that we enjoy a great partnership with our community. Many of our business partners have attended our events routinely and regularly and continue to advise us on how to make our students prepared for the world of work.
And to continue with the accomplishments, I want to talk about the teachers doing a wonderful job with the professional developments, working with us closely for value added for every program, for every student. And to talk a little bit more about students, our career technical student organizations, which are models for learning outside of the classroom along with learning inside the classroom. We are very proud of our 3 organizations that represent the 3 career technology organizations, and that's the Future Business Leaders of America. We have 4 student members headed to San Antonio, Texas to represent Maryland from Washington County at the FBLA competition. The Future Farmers of America from the agricultural programs. We have 8 student members headed to Indianapolis, Indiana to represent Maryland. And we have already had 4 student members travel to Oklahoma City to represent the state of Maryland in the National Land Judging Competition in which they finished 12th. The Skills USA members, we have 10 of those folks traveling to Louisville, Kentucky to represent Maryland in the National Skills USA competition. And then to end the organizations, we had the Envirothon here, the county Envirothon at CES, where we had 9 teams from across the county participate. And the winning team is going to St. Mary's County to represent Washington County for the state competition. Some other noteworthy items, we had site visits from some delegation. And the Career Technology Education in Washington County, particularly at Washington County Technical High School, our programs have been used as models for state and national programs. So we were visited by several folks to see just what the nuts and bolts of the programs were and how those programs ran and how the school operated. To start, we had Assistant Secretary for Career and Technical and Adult Education from the United States Department of Education, Mr. Scott Stump, and he visited Washington County Public Schools to look at our apprenticeship program, which we are in the 3rd year pilot of. I'm very proud to say we have 25 students now in the apprenticeship program. And last year, we only had 10, which I feel 10 is a huge success, though, because of those 10 apprentices, all 10 remained at the job or career pathway in which they were placed. So Secretary Stump visited to see what made the success and what made those things possible. Next, we had District 36 Delegate Jeff Greist visit Washington County Technical High School to look at the school as a whole. They looked at the academic model in which we had an A-Day, B-Day. We had a career technology education courses one day and academic coursework the next day. They also looked at the layout of the building, the new programs that we have for launching in 2020, because they're looking to build a new technical high school in District 36. And lastly, we had Congressman David Trone from Maryland's District 6 visit Washington County Technical High School to look at how federal funds are used for career technology education, how programs are operated, talked about funding models, talked about budgets, talked about programs, talked about future programs, and he's going to take that back to DC and lobby for career technology education.
Some of the other initiatives, if you'll recall, Dr. Michael challenged us with creating new high-end technology programs for career for students so that if we had those careers in the area, we would continue to build our workforce. But the other was to make sure that every student had an opportunity to learn computational thinking and the skills that are involved in critical thinking, because those are the things that all students need, regardless of where they choose to spend their post-secondary days. So we collaborated across departments. We had library and media, work with career technology education, work with science, and work with mathematics in order to develop some programs pre-K to 12 so that all students had actual experience in things like coding and engineering design and thought processes beginning as early as pre-K. I think we brought you some pictures of students actually putting together colored blocks so that their teacher could follow them or so that the little robot could follow them. These cross-curricular kits, we've been fortunate, our library media specialist has worked with Mr. Pine to incorporate them into library media, so every student has access to learning STEM through the Media Center with some really new and inventive tools to get that early exposure to computational thinking.
And I really want to thank our Division of Curriculum Partners. No silos exist between math and English and social studies and science. We all work collaboratively for the betterment of students. And we're very blessed to have that unity within that group. So lastly, we want to talk about facility and resource upgrades. The Innovation Center at Washington County Technical High School, as you know, has been redesigned, remodeled, and re-equipped to match the current industry and post-secondary institutional standards. Throughout this year, our students have had the opportunity to use that facility. We've had many visits, again, from business and industry partners who echo the sentiment of this is cutting edge, this is the way we need to be moving forward, and are very proud of the efforts that Washington County Public Schools is making. Next, we constructed greenhouses at both Boonesboro and Hancock to modernize and enhance the agricultural plant science programs. Through these constructions, students are exposed to some production horticultural experimentation, some experimentation with hydroponics, and some plant science experimentation in which they would not have had exposure to. The Urban Improvement Project, as you will hear later, is well underway with lab space construction for the computer game design and animation and digital communications programs, which will launch there in the fall of 2020. And some room renovation project proposals are currently being discussed at Washington County Technical High School for the new advanced programs with the applied manufacturing engineering and the AI cloud computing. So we just want to give you a brief update. Thank you for your continued and dedicated support, and we appreciate all you do for us.
Okay. Cody, the last two programs that Cody mentioned, both those programs are in the process of working with Maryland State Department of Education to review our educational specifications. Also, because of the scope of the project, Dr. Salmon will have to approve our construction documents as we renovate those two spaces, so we'll keep the board informed as we move through that process. But very excited for 2020 when we launch those two new programs, and two programs move downtown to the UIP building. I've been very blessed as I've gone about the state and state meetings and even over Tech High and throughout our county, as I run into various people and they keep bragging about Washington County. It's through nothing that I'm doing it, to Peggy and Cody and to our teacher success. I mean, they're helping to put Washington County on the map from a career and technology standpoint. So we're trying to advance the education of all of our students, and certainly career and technology education is a big part of that. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both. I think CTE, our programming here in Washington County, is a great source of pride, and not only for our school system, but for our county. So thank you both for your efforts. Mr. Stauffer.
This may not be the time to do it, but I don't get the chance to talk to you too often. if I remember, I read online, and I may have the facts wrong, but the implication was that I think it was by 2026 or 2030 that there was going to be a shortage of something like 60,000 electricians in this country. I think that's what I read. How big is our electrician program at Tech High? Because I'm an advocate for trades. I mean, college is not for everybody, because I found that out with my son. He went 2 years, and he said, "Dad, I'm just not interested." So I said, "Okay." I didn't say it that easily, but.
Well, currently, right now, we have 20 students in the electrical program, all of which are employed before they graduate. But another program that we have implemented this year is the Apprenticeship Maryland program, which will allow students to be an apprentice in an electrical field with not necessarily having the amount of related instruction that the students would. Certainly, the students at Washington County Technical High School will have an advantage, but those students in the apprenticeship program can go into the apprenticeship field with an electrician and do some on-the-job training while having some related instruction in the current program, such as a student in an agricultural program in Clear Spring will have some basic understanding of, some mastery of introductory understanding of electrical concepts, and then take that experience and go to an electrical program. But to comment on your question about shortages, with our work with our Career Clusters Program Advisory Committee members, business and education partners, every career cluster is experiencing the shortage of workforce. I mean, we're aging out. We have 4% unemployment now, and everybody wants to try to get somebody that's skilled in their line of area of expertise. So we are seeing that everywhere.
We're always going to need them, because there are always going to be people around like myself who can do certain things, but if I had to do big things, I'd probably end up electrocuting myself. So.
I was very pleased at our signing day, and Cody explained that a little bit, but that was a lot of fun that day. Just like when athletes sign with a college, we had the employer come up to the table, had the student join them. We had a number of electrical contractors there that participated in our signing day, and I think you already said, I think all of our electrical students were employed when they left Tech High this year, and certainly credit to the teacher and credit to the school. And we need to continue to work on expanding those efforts. But that signing day was a lot of fun to see owners of businesses sit down with students they've been working with or students that they were hiring in the next couple of weeks as we wrapped up the year at Tech High. That was a great event if you get a chance to attend that next year.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Our second presentation tonight, we wanted to give you a little update on the UIP and Sharpsburg Elementary. Jeff Piers here. Rob Rollins is kind of acting as our project manager for the UIP, even though it's kind of not directly our project. And Brad Otto is our project manager on site with Sharpsburg. Last week, I had an opportunity to go with Mr. Otto down to Sharpsburg. We probably walked the site for 45 minutes or so and kind of got a feel for the whole building. Really an interesting project, and they're going to share a little bit about that. And I guess it was just yesterday. It seemed like it was like a week ago, but it was just yesterday. Mr. Rollins, Mr. Prue joined me, and we went through the UIP. So we climbed 5 or 6 flights of ladders to get up to various floors of the UIP, and that progress is quite amazing as well. So, Jeff, Gene?
You're going to steal my thunder as we, climbed 5 or 6 flights of ladders all the way to the 5th floor of a building that's just steel structure and concrete flooring at this point, no sidewalls, nothing between, you, the cable, and the sidewalk. But for someone who didn't come from that background of, climbing metal structures, it was intriguing. It was a lot of fun, a little exhilarating too. I think getting up that high in that kind of a space, and the work those guys do is really amazing. But as you do know, and as Dr. Michael mentioned, we have 2 fully engaged major building projects going on this summer. So it's an opportune time to give you a brief update on this project. So I'll give you just sort of a one-off sheet here to give you a sense, again, reminder of the scope of the project. Starting with Sharpsburg Elementary, site work started in January of this year, with estimated completion of June of 2020. So really just 12 months from today, we'll have estimated completion on that building. In terms of the project facts, the state-rated capacity of that school is 471 students. It's approximately 60,000 square feet at a budgeted cost of $26,728,000. Mr. Otto is the project manager. We've got some photos here, and he'll kind of walk you through what you're seeing on the slides. And Facilities Committee had the luxury of being there about a month ago at our last business meeting, and we've had a lot of progress since then. So, Brad.
Thank you, Mr. Prue. Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Michael. I'm here tonight to walk you through essentially what ends up being a month-by-month walkthrough of the Sharpsburg Elementary site starting in January 2019, as Mr. Prue mentioned. What you see here is the construction entrance to Sharpsburg Elementary School right around January 1st. Some stakeout activities were beginning. So this is looking again from the end of Antietam Street in Sharpsburg due west almost up towards the existing school. These photos were taken in February 2019. From the previous photo, if you were to turn immediately to your left, you'd see this photo on the left where the Waynesboro job trailer, was initially, and one of the first and biggest stormwater features on the site was starting to be constructed. The photo to the right shows the existing stone wall that separates what I call the high side of the site from the low side of the site. It was also roughly the previous property line of the existing school and what was purchased to construct this new building. So the stone wall that you see in that photo on the right recently came down, which you'll see in the next photos as part of this project. The photo on the right shows when Waynesboro started taking that wall down. Came down much easier than I thought it would, quite honestly. Another interesting aspect of a project like this that you see in the photo on the left, there's a lot of work that gets done up front that ends up just getting buried, and other than photos, a lot of people forget about, but some of the stormwater piping and manholes you see here on the left, I was able to get some photos while the trenches were open. After a lot of this site work was taking place, they began to dig for the footings, and you started to see the building take shape. What you see here on the left is the first footing that was dug and subsequently poured on the northwest corner of the property. Essentially where that gentleman in the yellow shirt is standing is right near the music room, where the music room is going to be. This photo is with the rebar mat you see in the footing, and then the next photo is further down. This is on the end of the gym. So the conduits you see sticking up there are the conduits from Shepherdstown Pike through the easement and into the main electrical room of the building, just north of the gym. A little later on, this picture is roughly May 2019, excuse me. A lot of the steel is in the staging area on the site already. You see the steel bar joists on the left are for support of the floor on the two-story portion and also support of the roof on the one-story portion. The photo on the right is taken from the high side of the site, roughly where the main entrance of the building will be. You can see the elevator shaft starting to take place by the gentleman in the safety vest on the far left, about in the middle of the photo. And then where the masonry walls are coming up and their highest point, that's the gym and cafeteria area. Photo on the left just continues to show the masonry walls climbing in the gym area. And on the right was the first cast-in-place wall with that gentleman in the yellow shirt standing in about the same place he was when the footing was being poured. And you can see the existing Sharpsburg Elementary in the background. Are there any questions before we move on to the UIP? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, giving you a reminder on the urban improvement project. This is a project we've talked a lot with. We're thankful for our partner, Bowman Development Corps, and their contractor, Callis Construction, and their subs. They're doing a great job on that project. But abatement and demolition on that project started July of 2018 with the expected completion around the spring of 2020. July of 2019 with completion in spring of 2020. Project facts, the state rated capacity on that structure is 404 students. It is approximately 54,000 square feet at a projected cost at $19,367,000. And I do believe we have a typo on that slide. It is just July 2018, not July 2019. We're futurists.
Okay, well, we'll walk you through this project. Unlike Brad's, which started in a open field, we had a building in our way. So late last summer, early fall, we started the demolition of the 5-story apartment building you can see there on the left. That's the picture taken from Potomac Street. The Maryland Theater had started construction to the left of that picture. And then another picture of that demolition from the rear of the building. You can see the backside of the Barbara Ingram building, and you can see the lift up to the top floor. That building had to be taken down by hand mostly at the higher levels. They couldn't implode it or do any other kind of destructive demolition other than to take it apart by hand because of the neighboring work and buildings. So they had to be very careful. So piece by piece, it came down over a couple months. Once it's down, the picture on the left is taken, again, looking toward Potomac Street from the rear of the building, and the one on the right the same. You can see some of the rubble that had to get cleaned out before they could start doing foundation work. In these pictures, the Maryland Theater project is to the right, and the Barbara Ingram building to the left. It's interesting, on the left, you see all those different patchwork colors. That's the plaster and paint from the apartments that were in that apartment building that shared the wall with BISFA. There was no reason to take it off because we're going to just go right up against it. So there it is. So it's kind of just an interesting historical artifact of what was there. After the building pad was cleared, we started with foundations. You can see shoring here on the right-hand picture, some of those slanted beams. They're holding up retaining walls and making sure that we don't have any collapse of the neighboring structures or foundations. We did underpinning of the BISFA foundations. Our floor in this building is a little lower than the floor of the BISFA building, so we have to make sure that we protect the foundations there, and we started pouring the foundations and piers for the structural steel that is to follow. Here you see the foundation system and some of the structural steel beginning to take shape. On the left, you see lots of piers running along the right side of the picture. You see a lot of rebar. These are for retaining walls and structural piers for the structure that is going to go up. On the right-hand picture, you can see the first 2 floors of the structure starting to go up at that time. And at the upper right, or the upper center of the picture on the right, well, in both pictures actually, you can see a box frame sticking out from the Maryland Theater building. That is the bridge connection that will go between the 3rd floor of our building into the Maryland Theater building. Here we see the building really taking shape. The picture on the left is at the rear of the building, and you can see all 5 floors almost completed there. And then the picture on the right is taken from Potomac Street. You can see that the 5th floor is set back from the street level. That's to preserve, to not have too tall a building at the street level. They want to preserve the historic look of the streetscape, as they call it. So the structure is now complete, and we are pouring floors. They're mostly poured. I think there's maybe one section on the 1st floor that isn't poured yet while they work through some work in the kitchen area. This particular floor is the 2nd floor of the building, and the next steps are to frame in the outside walls of the building, get the skin up, put a roof on so that we can dry in the building and start all the drywall and the finishes that come next. That's where we are. If there's any questions, we'd be glad to answer.
Any questions? I just want to thank staff for bringing the update. Thank you, and keep up good work. And it's exciting to see, the projects coming together, and looking forward to what that will be for our students in the future. I don't have any other comments other than I think we wrapped up a great school year. Last week, teachers, ESP administrators, our students did a great job finishing out the school year. Grateful for all their work this year. We've already started, as one of our speakers earlier mentioned, we've already started professional development yesterday. And teachers, many of them are already back at work already, and some are off to a well-deserved vacation, but a lot of staff development occurring right now. And again, we just appreciate the efforts of all of our staff and wish our students a great, happy summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. We'll move on to personnel action. Dr. Bishop.
Good evening, Mrs. Lyons, Dr. Michael, and board members. As discussed earlier in closed session, there are several staff changes for your review. So at this time, I ask for your approval of today's personnel actions.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Is there a second? Okay, the motion is on approval of this afternoon's personnel changes. All those in favor? And have 5 affirmative votes. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Bishop.
And Madam President, if I might, just one note I wanted to make this evening. We generally announce principals and principal changes. We have one tonight. Miss Amy Norris will be the new principal at Paramount Elementary School. So we just wanted to make that public this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. Okay, we'll move on to reports to the board. We'll have board member committee reports. We have 2 members absent, so obviously they won't be reporting on their committees. Mrs. Fisher, would you like to start down there with policy?
Sure. Policy Committee met June the 11th and completed the changes to policy JICI, which just passed on first read earlier this evening. It's the one dealing with personally owned electronic devices. We also heard a plan for rolling out this policy for the 2019-2020 school year, as it is a major change from what is currently existing in policy. And we want to make sure that everyone understands all the parameters of this policy and the changes that are occurring or will be occurring. Our next meeting of the Policy Committee is scheduled for June 25th at 9:15.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Gessford, facilities?
Yes, thank you. We haven't had any meetings for a while, but we do have one scheduled for July 16th at 8 a.m. And that's all I have for that.
Mrs. Murray?
Yes. Curriculum and instruction will meet on Tuesday, June 27th at 4 p.m. in the board conference room. Is it 20? Do I have that right? June 27th.
Is that a Tuesday? I know we meet on the last.
Got that on. No, it's the 25th.
25th?
Sorry.
25th is Tuesday.
It didn't sound right. I apologize for that.
Thank you, June 25th at 4 p.m.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have anything for us, Mr. Mackley?
No new updates to report on.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move then to miscellaneous business. Under there, we have one item, and that is our future agenda items list. Coming up in August, we have a student services update. We met today, Agenda Planning Committee met, and with the help and guidance of Dr. Bishop, we are scheduling agendas way into the start of the school year. So if you have a agenda item that you would like to suggest, please let a member of the committee know, Dr. Michael, Mr. Stauffer, or myself, and we'll get it placed on an agenda. And now we'll move to board member comments. Mr. Mackey, would you like to begin?
Nothing.
Nothing? Mrs. Murray? Mr. Stauffer?
I'd just like to say, as a former government teacher, it's nice to see that we had citizens here tonight taking advantage of their First Amendment rights to freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, and so forth.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Mr. Gessford?
Thank you. Over this past month, I was able to attend the MABE meeting down in Annapolis on the nomination for the MABE board. And I also enjoyed the night at Tech High for graduation. What a great group. This was my 3rd year there. I really enjoy being there. They have some really great students, and the things that those students are going to achieve in life, I think, are a result of fine teachers that we have at Tech High. So congratulations to the students and to the teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Gessford. Mrs. Fisher?
I have nothing tonight.
I have nothing this evening. Nothing further? All right, then we stand adjourned. Thank you.